Genshin Impact and character design are two things I'm very interested in and want to learn more about, and today I'll do this by designing my own Genshin Impact characters. For this, I'll be using the steps I described in this previous video. I recommend checking it out before this one. There I show you how you can design your own Genshin characters, things to look out for, and I included an example using one Genshin character as well. To really understand this whole theory, the basic steps better, no matter what I'm currently studying, I find applying it to see if you truly understand it always helps, and that's what I'll do today. Now let's get started. The first character I talk about will be Yumari, a character I already designed around a year ago, the Moon Guardian in his world. I'll reimagine him as Genshin character for this video, while going off a blank slate and coming up with a new character would also have been interesting. I thought this would work nicely as a basis, since I already have some ideas about who the character is and I can now transfer these into the Genshin universe. Let's now go through the steps. We're starting with the idea. As I talk about this, I'm showing you the process of drawing a basic character sheet for him. I referenced Genshin's characters proportions here. A basic description for him would be mysterious mirror manufacturer. In a bit more detail, he's a very timid, calm character with a calming voice. He wants people around him to feel good. He's pretty quiet and calm and can seem distant or cold at times because of this. He has a bit of comforting energy when you get to know him better. He's careful with what he says and only talks when he feels like it's necessary. Yumari is also pretty gentle. You know how you look at the moon at night and it can have this calming effect and also seem like this light in the dark. For his personality, he's reserved, calm, gentle. He values knowledge, truth and honesty and likes to reflect on his actions. And for his profession, job and role, he's a mirror manufacturer, and the moon is often connected to reflection. Moon literally reflects light from the sun. Also, when you look at the night sky, often seeing the moon can lead to you reflecting on what happened the day before or in the past. So Yumari is very thoughtful, and he also likes beauty and being true to who you are. The moon also represents femininity, and all of this is also symbolized by the mirrors. Yumari likes to make people feel good with beautiful mirrors, and he wants them to see themselves as the best version of who they are and realize their true beauty through them. His interests and hobbies would include fashion, beauty, knowledge, and he also likes to read and dress in nice clothes. He values his appearance. For his backstory and past, similarly to the moon, he has gone through dark and bright phases in his life and been to a few places, mainly to learn about mirrors and fashion in different cultures. His parents were very kind. He himself was the one who wanted to be more disciplined and ambitious with his mirror manufacturing pursuit. He didn't feel pressured by his parents to do this, but he rather chose this himself since he saw what hard workers they are. He has been independent and on his own for most of his life. For the region he's from, I was a bit unsure at first. He'd fit to Inazuma, Sumeru or Fontaine to me, since he values eternity, wisdom and justice. Then I thought Sumeru wouldn't fit that well because of the kind of greenish vibes it has, and also looking at the clothes there, they seem too nature inspired to me. And then I also disregarded Fontaine since eternity fits better to the moon than justice to me. So I said he's from Inazuma and the moon has been around for a long time, so this fits to eternity, and it also fits to the symbolism of yin and yang with the sun and the moon. And because of the Inazuma origin, I knew that I would later on go for a Japanese clothing style, and I would have to make sure to include more region-specific aspects. For the vision, I went with water here. He strives for beauty and excellence. He wants to be the best he can be and make the best mirrors possible so people can view themselves in the best way. For his weapon type, I would say he's a catalyst, since he likes to rely on powers and not weapons. He's not that much of a hands-on fighter. For the age and body type, I would go with the tall male here. Other Hydro characters striving for excellence would be Xingqiu and Neuvillette, and other charismatic, mysterious characters like him would be Ayato, Kaya, and Kawe. Kawe also desires beauty. And other calming characters would be Candace and Jongyun, and what makes Yumari unique here would be a combination of all the elements, the mirror manufacturing and striving for beauty, and combining this with a reserved personality. Now let's move on to step 2 and gathering references. Here I included references from his initial design, some Genshin characters and some other character designs. I also added Inazuma references, including Japanese style clothing, as well as accessoires such as tassels. Then I also added 2 materials within Genshin. We have the crystal marrow, which fits to crystals and mirrors and over reflection, and then we have the sea Ganoderma, which is a hydro plant from Inazuma. I looked up the terms moon, eternity, mirrors and crystals when gathering more references, and I wanted to to go with a bright and cool vibe for his design overall. Color-wise, I for example thought of going with mostly blue and purple, fitting to him being a hydro character in his original design. Pink and turquoise were other possible colors I could see for him, and since he's inspired by the moon, I also wanted to go with lots of white. Fashion pieces I wanted to add for his design inspired by these references would be gloves, a Japanese inspired belt, some longer flowy cape parts, and sandal-like shoes. These shoes were also something that would make it easy to walk around with, adding to the functionality part in his design. Another thing I imagined could contribute to this functionality part would be rather tight pants and clothes overall. As for ethereality or parts that would make the outfit look prettier, I imagined adding a flowy cape, some translucent fabric parts, and many accessoires such as crystals and jewelry. Next, let's get to step 3, the silhouette. I made basic thumbnails for his outfit using the character sheet poses. Since Yumari is a kind, calm person, I wanted to include mostly rounded shapes, but also a few sharp edges, similarly to the moon crescent shape, since Yumari can also seem a bit cold at first. So ratio-wise, I would say going with 70% round and 30% sharp edges and shapes. While blocking in the outfit, I established I would want for his silhouette to represent a bit of a teardrop shape with more volume at the bottom. Genshin character designs won't have too much volume going off the body though, and pretty tight pants often, so I included this as well. For big, medium and small, we'd have his shirt, skirt, pants and the longer cape as big parts, the cape hanging from the belt and shoes as medium parts, and the accessoires as small shapes. For the values, I wanted there to be most contrast around the upper body and face here, since his hairstyle and skin color have a bit similar values. Alright, now that the values are blocked in, let's add some colors. In his initial design, Yumari has one outfit with just blue and purple tones, while the other one has purple as well as blue, pink and turquoise. Both outfits also include a lot of white. I was inspired by this for his colors, as well as the colors in Chi-Chi's and Kokomi's character designs here. The primary color for Yumari's design would be purple. I paired this with a lot of white. Other colors I added in his secondary or accent colors would be blue, pink, turquoise and a few golden parts. The most colorful parts in his outfit would be at his chest, his belt, his shoes and the cape in the back. As mentioned, for the values, I wanted to draw more attention to Yumari's face by making the outfit around his chest darker and more saturated here. Now that we've done some concepting, it's time to finally draw the full outfit. For this, let's start with step 5, the basic outfit. Here are the layers I used, or parts the outfit is made up of. We have a tight shirt, a shorter skirt. Technically, they are one outfit piece, so it's a short dress. You could say it's just divided up by the belt, from which a longer cape hangs in the back. Other than this, we'd have some sleeves on the arms, tight pants and flat sandal shoes. You'll notice that for Yumari's outfit, his shirt is rounded at the top, kind of fitting to a moon shape. It's similar with all cuts of the outfit parts. I wanted for them to be fitting to the moon theme. I also made sure to include asymmetry through the cut of his skirt here, and the cape adds some flowiness to Yumari's outfit. I also drew in a side view at some points, since Yumari's belt is lower and smaller in the back than in the front, and this helped me to understand how this would work. It also helped with making sure the smaller bands wrapping around his upper body would make sense placement wise. I would say these would be part of the accessoires for Yumari's outfit, what I'll talk about next, which would be step 6. And fitting to Yumari, his vision and region, here I included some tassels, fingerless gloves, a head crown, various swirly patterns, and a flower attached to a leg band. On a lower leg band we also have the sea Ganoderma, and we have various crystals, including the crystal marrow in Genshin and many gemstones. I wanted to include the moonstone, labradorite, selenite, and fitting to him being a hydro character, pearls here. You'll also see a smaller cape hanging from Yumari's front waist here. Where this is attached, a mirror and dreamcatcher-like object is placed as well. I also added 2 more of these dreamcatcher-like objects at Yumari's back. Other than this, we'd also have some moon-shaped stones, of course. Common Genshin accessoires Yumari has in his outfit design would be a belt, 2 leg bands and 1 wristband, some jewelry, also including a earring, as well as a head crown. Gloves and the tassels would be another common thing he has in his design. Materials included for the accessoires here would be various gemstones, a bit of gold and metal for the dreamcatcher-like objects, and the moons. For the placement of the accessoires, here we have ones at his head, at his chest, at the outer sides of his shoulders, at his back, at his wrist and hands, at his belt, his hips, his legs and on his shoes. You'll notice I included some patterns for his cape and skirt. These were inspired by his original outfit design, and the way I drew them in, I wanted them to appear flowy, representing a moon shape overall. Then I also added a tattoo on his back, showing a reflection symbol, fitting to him being a hydro character, the moon reflecting light from the sun, and his identity as mirror manufacturer. And his vision would be at his right hip on the back. Now we've added all the outfit parts. Next it's time to add in the final colors with step 7. Here, based off my initial block-in and reference board, I went with a color palette including various shades of purple, white, blue, pink, turquoise, silver and gold. What changed compared to the block-in here would be that I made the cape hanging from Yumari's belt have the same color and translucent material as the cape in the back. The parts on his belt where the cape is hanging from also would be turquoise instead of gold. From the guides I mentioned in my character design video, here's what I made use of. I made the small accessoires very colorful, added in a lot of gradients for his shirt, sleeves and his pants. His translucent capes also have a bit of a gradient to them. Then I also added in patterns to make his longer outfit parts not look empty. I added in gold and silver parts, used different shades of purple to separate overlaps, and all in all, Yumari still has purple as his one main primary color in his design. The most contrast provided by the outfit would be around Yumari's shoulders, drawing more attention to his face. This is also a reason for why I changed up the smaller cape's color in the front here. If I left it like in the block-in, it would have added more contrast to the hip and draw some attention away from the face. And with that, the character design is almost done. We're just missing step 8, the final check. Let's check these things. Is the character unique? While he does remind me a bit of Kokumi and Ayato through his turquoise and pink accents, the many moon shapes, and his identity as mirror manufacturer, I'd say yes, he's pretty unique. Next is visual storytelling. Does the design convey who the character is? And here I'd say yes, he has a mirror in his design. After all, I also think the Dreamcatcher-like objects are an interesting addition since they don't directly show that he's a mirror manufacturer, but the Dreamcatchers are similar to mirrors and well, very symmetrical, fitting to Yumari being a reflective person that also has high standards and a lot of dreams he wants to achieve. Next, let's go to my reference board and look for any references I would still like to include. And here I have to say no, not really. The only thing I thought of here was adding more mirrors, but the one he has already is enough to me with all other accessoires Yumari already has in his outfit. The next thing to check is the contrast. How is it used and do I want to add more of it? As mentioned before, the shoulders have a lot of contrast in Yumari's design and bring attention to the face. I'm happy with this, and I also like the moon shape at his chest. The contrast works to me, and the same goes for readability, value and silhouette wise. The design works for me even when zooming out. And finally, would I say the idea is realized in the way I want it to be? Here I'd say yes, I could see Yumari looking this way if he was part of the Genshin universe. And with that, this character design is done. Now let's move on to the next character, which would be Koru, the Sun Guardian in his world, which is also the world Yumari is from. A basic description for him would be outgoing, fun explorer. In a bit more detail, Koru is a very expressive character who always speaks his mind. He's rarely seen being sad and has an optimistic outview on life. He's also confident and lives each day to its fullest. Unlike Yumari, he doesn't like to spend a lot of time reflecting on his actions. He prefers to just live in the here and now, not thinking too much about what he does and just going with whatever feels right depending on the situation he's in. While Yumari likes to stay on his own and in his own place most of the time, you'll find Koru spending his days traveling, adventuring, experiencing as much as possible while being around many other people. He's kind of a sunshine. Personality traits that describe him would be expressive, loud, optimistic, energetic, outgoing, and he values exploration and freedom. And for his profession, job or role, he would be an adventurer or explorer. He reports things to a map maker who also teaches him things about the world. The map maker uses the information from him to create maps, and Koru gets free maps because of this. Also, he probably works with a lot of friends in general on his adventures, and when he travels, he either helps people in need or finds precious things, which he gets to people who need it, or also to his friends, parents or family who sell these things. When it comes to making money, he gets it from helping people, and if he's ever low on it, which actually doesn't happen since he is so proactive, he'd be fine with taking any commission from the Adventurers Guild or even work random jobs. You can be sure that he'll find something. This also kind of reflects the sun. All humans look up to it, it lights up their day, and in a similar way, Koru is connected to many different humans in different places. The sun, as well as Koru, is known throughout the world. And his interests or hobbies would include dancing, martial arts, hiking, acting, sailing, and he's also a falcon and dog trainer. Some things about his backstory and past. Over the course of his life, he has always tried to keep a positive mindset. His parents were fascinated with exploring the world as well, but they would mostly remain in their place since they were mine workers. Koru wanted to outlive his dreams by exploring the world, since for the past he has been in the mines in the darkness and he didn't like this. He always knew he wanted to be in the light and outside. His other relatives, which were merchants, told him stories of how they gathered different things to sell on their travels and experienced different cultures, which Koru was fascinated by, and he wanted to experience similar things. For his region, I would either go with Mondstadt, which stands for freedom, or Inazuma, which stands for eternity, and in the end I chose Inazuma here because, well, for Yumari I already went with Inazuma and and you heard me talk about the yin and the yang with the sun and the moon, so that's what I went with here. The sun has also been around for a long time, so eternity also makes sense to me here. So here we also have a Japanese clothing style, and here we would also have Japanese clothing style inspiration for his outfit. For the vision, he would be Pyro, acting as counterpart to Yumari being Hydro, and this also reflects in his personality. Since he has passion and hope he wants to spread onto others, he's passionate about exploring the world, meeting as many people as possible, and living life to the fullest. Also, for family legacy, it makes sense that he brings things from his travels to his parents, and he kinda outlives their dreams by exploring the world instead of being in the mines. For a weapon, I would go with a sword or a claymore here, and he would definitely, since he would enjoy hand-to-hand or close combat. For the age and body type, we have tall male. Other pyro characters that are also outgoing and charismatic like him would be Amber, Bennett, Toma, Yoimiya, Xingyan, and Zhangling. And other active characters would be Ito and Beidou. And here I would say he's a explorer, similar to Bennett maybe, but he's not as unlucky as him and a lot more confident and charismatic. So yeah, that's what would make him unique. Next, let's move on to step 2, gathering references. And again, I included references from his initial design, some Genshin characters, and some other character designs. And for Inazuma specifically, I also added these stylized Japanese clouds. I looked up the terms adventurer, explorer, and Japanese sun when gathering references. As for the overall mood and colors, since Kuro's initial design had more golden colors, that's also what I was inspired by for his design. The sun usually is depicted in a rather yellowish golden color. However, what I found interesting is that the Japanese sun is portrayed in red, which was cool since for pyro characters you usually have a very reddish outfit. Kuro's design should also convey that he's friendly and warm as a person. Fashion pieces I wanted to reference here would be Japanese belts, armor pieces, bags and belts from Explorer character designs. This would also be what's included for the functional, practical things in his design. Some arm and shoulder armor as well as sturdy shoes are part of this as well. As for some more visually pleasing ethereal elements, I was imagining adding Japanese cloud patterns as well as various sun-themed golden accessoires and patterns. Next, let's get to step 3, the silhouette. Again, I drew on the character sheet here, and since Kuro is a rather dynamic character, I wanted to use triangular shapes. Since he represents the sun and is rather friendly at the same time, I also wanted to go for some rounded shapes as well. For a ratio here, I went with around 70% triangular and 30% round shapes. Then I also wanted him to have more volume at the top, acting as a bit of a counterpart to Yumari. I also went with the opposite ratio of shapes because of this. Next, let's talk about big, medium, and small shapes. For big shapes, we'd have a shirt, pants, and boots. Medium shapes would be the belt and arm armor. Small shapes would then be included for the accessoires. Value-wise, I wanted to go with rather dark ones for most of Kuro's outfit, again kinda opposing to Yumari. I added in some brighter parts for the medium and small shapes, mainly the accessoires. Alright, now that the values are plugged in, let's go to step 4 and add some colors. In his original design, Kuro has more golden and brown colors, and in his second outfit, pink, purple, and golden ones. And here I wanted to go with mostly brown and golden tones. The primary color for his design would be brown to me, which I also used partly as the black or white part for this outfit. As mentioned before, since I wanted to go with a rather dark color scheme, we basically only have black added in here. Other than this, as secondary colors, I used some gold and yellow. As accent color, we'd had a bit of purple for the accessoire around his belt. I wanted the parts around his upper body to be more colorful than for the lower body to draw a bit more attention to his face. Now that we've done some concepting, it's time to finally draw the full-on outfit. So let's move on to step 5, the basic outfit. You'll see I first experimented a bit with some cuts, even though I had done the silhouette before. In the end, I went with what was just like my silhouette. Still, I liked exploring a few other options here at first. And for the final outfit, the parts it's made up of would be a asymmetrical short shirt at the top, wider pants tucked into knee-length leg wear. Then I included knee and arm armor, as well as a shoulder armor piece. He wears a belt around his waist. And outfit parts that fit to the character and show who Kuro is. Here I wanted to go with the Japanese Inazuma theme with the cut of the shirt and the shoes, as well as by adding the belt around the waist. You can see how I made sure the shirt would also be asymmetrical, and that I added in the shoulder armor as counterpart on the other side here. And that would be it for the base of the outfit. Since we're designing a Genshin character here, we definitely can't miss out on the next step, which would be step 6, the accessoires. And here I added in several tassels to show his Inazuma origin, the adventurer's bag with a smaller belt around his hip to show that he likes to explore and travel, and finally some more accessoires wrapping around his upper body and a small necklace around the head. Common Genshin accessoires Kuro has in this outfit design would be the armor shoulder piece, golden accessoires, a belt, leg and wristbands, jewelry such as a necklace or rings, as well as a headpiece. The tassels are also again characteristic for the Inazuma region he's from, and again Genshin's character designs. Materials included for the accessoires here would be gold, wood for the stones on his knees. For example, I thought this could be a bigger sunstone. The accessoires for Kuru are placed on his head, at his right shoulder, on his chest, at his waist, on his hands, on his hips, and on his knees. I used mostly triangular and rectangular shapes for the design, as well as some rounded patterns. Laurel wreath symbols, which are often associated with Apollo, the Greek god of the sun, and Japanese themed clouds fitting to his Inazuma origin. And the vision would be hanging from the belt at the opposite side of the adventurer's back. Now we're done with the accessoires and let's move on to step 7, the final colors. Here, based off my initial block-in and reference spot, I went with a black, brown, gold, yellow and purple color palette. In my block-in, I also first wanted to add in purple on the pants and the pattern, but this didn't fit that well to me, so I changed this up. I also sketched in a side view to better understand how the belt and cut of Kuru's shirt would look from the side along the way here. I even tried to make the accessoire on the belt be more to the side, similar to how it looked in my color block-in, but determined I preferred for it to be like the original version I already had drawn. I added a pattern for the pants and his shirt, as well as a lot of gold. Here are some things I made use of from the guides I mentioned in my character design video. I added a pattern for the pants and his shirt, as well as a lot of gold. To separate overlapping brown tones for his arm and leg accessoires, for example, I made sure to include different hues and shades of brown and or black here. Then I also didn't go for too many colors and stuck to the golden undertone as main primary color. The biggest contrast color-wise would be the purple accessoire on Kuru's belt. Other than this, his dark brown hair and necklace with the sun shape on his chest contrasts with the rather bright upper outfit, drawing some attention to the face. And with the final colors out of the way, all that's left to do is move on to the final step 8, the final check. First, is the character unique? I would say yes, since he symbolizes the sun. The mostly gold-based color palette and purple in his outfit design would also be something I haven't seen for other Pyro Genshin characters. Chevreuse would be the only character that has similar colors, but hair design features more dark wine red tones and white parts. Next is visual storytelling. Does the design convey who the character is? Since many sun motifs are included in Kuru's design, and he looks like he's ready to go on an adventure and explore the world right away, and his design has a overall friendly and open vibe, I'd say yes. When I went back to my reference spot, I did think a bit about including a red sun as well, but overall this wouldn't fit to Kuru's character design to me, so I disregarded the idea. Other than this, I noticed how in Kuru's second outfit it has a lot of purple, which I included in his Genshin outfit with the belt accessoire, which I found pretty cool. For contrast, as mentioned before, we have some color contrast for the belt and around the head through the hand accessoires. The lower body also forms a bit of contrast to the brighter upper body here, and this would also be the case for the amount of detail. For the upper body, you have a lot of detail, kind of contrasting to the lower body, and again this can draw some attention towards the face. All in all, I was okay with the amount of contrast and how it's used here. When making the design black and white, I was okay with how it looked. When zooming out and checking the silhouette, it was fine as well. And finally, would I say the idea is realized in the way I want it to be? And here I'd say almost. One thing is still a bit off at this point, and here I would like to add one more thing you can check at this stage, and that would be to put the character design in front of a blank Genshin card template with the vision of your character. And here I noticed that the colors were much too gold and yellow to me. The character would fit better on the geo type of background. However, not including as much red, but instead golden tones was something I really liked about Kuru's design and what made him stand out. In the end, I determined I would want to adjust the colors while still staying true to the initial idea and keeping the values of his outfit and the parts included in it the same. From going through the final check step, the one thing I adjusted would be that I added reddish tones on an overlay layer to make the colors more fiery, and this way I completed the final character design for Kuru. Now let's move on to the third character, Kira, which would be the Star Guardian in his world and also the world Yumari and Kuru are from. For a basic description, we would have kind-hearted, curious guide. Next, for a more detailed description, as Star Guardian, I would think Kira is fascinated by all the stars, the world and the map. He likes figuring out how the land looks, and stars in the night can often seem like guiding lights. When you look at the stars, you can recognize constellations and through this determine where directions are. He also likes to imagine a lot of things. He's not like Kuru, always wanting to experience things, but he's also not as reflecting as Yumari. He's a bit in between both. He enjoys experiencing things from time to time, but also loves his alone time. He likes to get fascinated by any subject he's exploring. He may not always come up as super smart and a bit naive, but he tries his best. He doesn't come off as cold-hearted as Yumari, but also not as warm as Kuru. Also, for any Zelda fans out there, within the Triforce, I would say Yumari would stand for wisdom, Kuru for strength, and Kira for courage here. For Kira's personality, he's helpful, playful, kind-hearted, naive, friendly, curious, childlike, and for the profession, job, or role, Kira would be a map maker. Remember how I talked about a map maker Koru would report to before? Well, to me this would be Kira. Kira spends a lot of time creating maps. Sometimes he'll go onto trips to explore areas, but he also enjoys the craft of making a nice map on his own in his room. That's why he also relies on people like Koru, since he doesn't want to always be out exploring. He likes to capture what others tell him and also research what they come across. Kira makes money by selling the maps he makes. They are a helpful guide to many people. He's known for them. You would say he's a bit of a star, not as radiant as Koru, but not as radiant and well known as Koru. Koru is more known in person since he meets so many people, while for Kira it's more that people know about him through his maps. And for Yumari, for example, it's that people know themselves better through his mirrors. Kira also likes to study geography and cultures and other subjects from time to time in the library. This would also be one of his interests or hobbies, and other than this, he also likes to play the flute. He also likes sailing, similarly to Koru. Then he also is very interested in astronomy. Who knows, he might really be fascinated by Mona and even try some fortune telling himself. Kira also likes to make candles and do some writing. Does he seem like a character that would write stories, more like Yaimiko I guess, or poetry like Kazuha? Let me know in the comments. And for his backstory or past, Kira has always been fascinated by the world around him. He spent most of his child life with his grandparents who gave him this worldview, and I thought his parents could be sailors or explorers, and Kira admired his parents for knowing a lot about the world and the places they tell him about, so he wanted to capture this fascination through creating maps. He has maps that are more on the informative, factual side, only telling you the places and locations names, and ones that also provide information about the culture and so on, depending on what the customer for the map prefers. At the same time, Kira enjoys having his peaceful, quiet time, similar to what he would also experience with his grandparents. He has some friends he writes letters to and dabbles in writing since stories or poetry fascinate him. He is more social than Yumari, but not as much as Koru. People would always thank him for being helpful, something that Kira likes to do naturally, and he discovered how important this is to him. That's why he wanted to help people with his maps. For the region, I would either go with Mondstadt representing freedom or Sumeru representing wisdom. I went with Inazuma for the others. Stars are of course also around for a long time, but not as known for being connected to eternity like the sun and the moon with their yin and yang symbolism. And for Kira, I'd go with Sumeru since he's very curious and loves to explore the world. He's more interested in providing the information, so the wisdom part, than exploring the world, the freedom part himself. So yeah, overall he would be from Sumeru. And for the vision, I would go with Anemo here. He is bound by his ideal to show the world through his maps in the best way he can. That also means he doesn't just see the world as it is, he often tries to figure out how it works, how he would show it on a map, and he's kind of stuck in his duty as a map maker and being helpful. I also thought that in the past maybe his uncle or aunt explored a new place but did not have a map or get lost and never returned, and who knows, this could have led to Kira placing so much importance and preventing this from ever happening again. For Kira's weapon, I'd say bow or polearm, but as you likely noticed throughout this video, I didn't focus that much on the weapons for designing these characters. I also didn't add a weapon for them in their outfit design. Let me know in the comments what weapon types would fit to these characters to you. For the age and body type, I went with the medium male one here, as you can see in his character sheet. I drew Kira with a smaller body. In his initial design, he also was smaller than Yumari and Koru. Other animal characters fitting to him would be Kazuha and Sucrose. Other characters fascinated with knowledge and kind of studying things would be Mona, Albedo, Layla, and Xingqiu. And other naive kind characters would be Freminet and Fischl. And the combination of his personality traits with being helpful and naive and also a map maker would be what makes Kira unique here. Next, let's move on to step 2, gathering references. Once again, this would include references from Kira's initial design, Genshin characters, and some other character designs I found on Pinterest. For Sumeru specifically, I wanted to add some plant-inspired patterns. I looked up the terms explorer, map, stars, astronomy, and explorer when gathering references. Overall, astronomy and space or sparkle core would also be two aesthetics I was inspired by when looking up references for him. From the references I gathered, I had the idea to include a longer cape, a skirt, and some poofy sleeves in his character design. Functionality-wise, I wanted his outfit to be rather tight so he could move around freely. Then I also wanted to add flat shoes that would enable him to walk around easily. Whereas for the ethereality or fantasy side, as mentioned before, a cape, poofy sleeves, as well as many star pattern inspired accessoires seemed like a nice idea to go for in his design to me. Next, let's get to step 3, the silhouette shapes, which I again drew on the character sheet. Since Kira is a very kind person, I wanted the design to convey this by adding in round shapes. Since he's also very curious and rather quick, I also wanted to add in triangular shapes here as well. The ratio I determined as a guide would be 80% circle and 20% triangles, but you'll see that I deviated from this, since for the final design, the star shape itself was something I would want to include at many parts of his outfit, which has more of a triangular shape. As bigger parts or shapes for the outfit, here we'd have the shirt, the pants, the skirt, as well as the cape. Medium shapes would then be the sleeves and shoes, while smaller shapes would be added in through the accessoires. For the values, I tried out a bunch of variations and in the end determined that I would like for the upper part of the shirt to be darker, especially since Kira has rather bright hair. This way the outfit could provide a bit more contrast around the face. After the value block-in, let's now move on to the color block-in with step 4. In Kira's initial design, he has lots of pink in one of his outfits and lots of purple in the other one. I still kept the pink for his Genshin design, but wanted to pair it with blue and some yellow here. The most colorful parts in Kira's design would be around his upper body as well as his sleeves and pants here. As primary color, I went with pink for Kira's design. For black and white parts, I wanted the cape to add more contrast by making it mostly black while adding a few white parts around the stomach for the block-in here. Secondary colors in Kira's design would be blue, and some accent colors would also be yellow. And the colorful darker shirt as well as the darker cape contrasting with the brighter outfit were both things that should add in contrast around Kira's face here. Now that we've done some concepting, it's time to finally draw the full-on outfit. For this, let's start with step 5, the basic outfit. Kira's outfit would include a short tight shirt connected through a star shape around his stomach to some short tight pants. On top of these pants, he wears a short skirt, and on his arms he has some poofy sleeves. Finally, he also wears flat shoes and a big star-shaped cape. The many star shapes included in the outfit here should convey his connection to the stars, and the poofy sleeves, for example, were supposed to show his kindness and friendliness. As for asymmetry within Kira's outfit, for the basic outfit parts here, other than the ends of his pants, you'll see that his outfit is mostly symmetrical. What added in more asymmetry for him would definitely be the accessoires, what I'll talk about next for step 6. To add in some more flowiness and visual interest to Kira's outfit here, I added these 4 longer flowy pants hanging from the back of a belt he wears on his hip. On this belt I also added a small book and magnifying glass, as well as a scroll, a key, a feather, and a small pouch attached to it. All these small accessoires should show Kira's identity as mapmaker. Other than this, Kira wears a small crown on his head, as well as some arm and leg accessoires, necklaces, earrings, and rings. Common Genshin accessoires Kira has in his outfit design would be a belt, the leg and wristbands, lots of jewelry including necklaces, earrings, and rings, his small crown, and the many small props around his belt. The different jewelry parts here would be made up of various metals and gemstones to me. A few Genshin materials included for them to me could be the Condescence Crystal, Star Silver, the Sango Pearl, and Noctilucous Jade. For Kira, the accessoires are placed on his head, his chest, his upper arms, his hands, his hips, and his legs. Similarly to the outfit itself, I included a lot of star shapes and the patterns of Kira's design, as well as some constellations and Sumeru-inspired swirls. Kira's vision would be at his belt along with the many props. Now that we've added all the outfit parts, now it's time for adding in the final colors with step 7. For this I went with pink, blue, yellow, black and white as color palette. The white parts turned out to be more of a very light gold material in the end though, since if this wasn't gold, well, Kira wouldn't have much gold in his design, which would be uncharacteristic, but I guess it could also work like it does for Kokumi or Razor, for example. For Kira's smaller accessoires, such as the stones on his necklace, I made them be saturated blue, adding in a pop of color this way, following the guides I had mentioned in my Genshin character design video. Other than this, I also added in a lot of gradients for him on his shirt, his pants, his sleeves and the flowy parts, as well as on the cape, which again fit to the guides mentioned previously. The shirt and sleeves are the most saturated parts in Kira's design, along with the star shape on his crown and his pink eyes. The pants have the same color here but are partly covered by the sheer translucent yellow skirt, making them appear brighter. This all draws more attention to Kira's face, and with that the final colors step is done and we can move on to step 8, the final check. First, let's start with the question, is the character unique? I would say yes, he is. I haven't seen a pink color scheme like here for any Genshin character, while many other anime characters also don't have turquoise as their main color in their color scheme. Here I still deviated from the other designs in this way. The big star-shaped cape would also make Kira's design unique here, and it also adds to the visual storytelling through the many star-shaped patterns and the accessoires around Kira's design. I think the design also conveys who Kira is, a curious mapmaker that's inspired by the stars. I also don't have any more things to add when looking back at my reference board, and for contrast I found the many patterns included around the lower part of Kira's design contrast with the upper part of his design. Around his face and head you have less detail, facial patterns and busyness, leading your eyes more to his face, which gives a nice contrast. However, one thing I noticed here when also making the design black and white would be the contrast in values. I used a lot of bright colors for Kira's design here. Even characters with mostly bright colors in their design have some parts that are pretty dark and add a lot of contrast. So here I determined I would like to increase the contrast for Kira's design silhouette, and when zooming out, the design worked for me readability wise. And overall, the idea is also realized how I would like for it to be realized. So after adjusting the values of the colors a bit, making the darker parts darker and adding more contrast this way, this is how the final character design for Kira turned out. And that would be it for designing 3 Genshin characters. Let me know which of the designs you like most, what you think about the backstory of the characters, and if you have any more ideas for this. You can also let me know if you like the sun, moon or stars the most theme and aesthetic wise. I had a lot of fun designing these characters, and I hope you found seeing me apply the steps I described in my Genshin character design analysis video helpful. Now, for a Genshin character to really be a Genshin character, they would also need a card illustration, but for this it would be really useful to first learn more about the Genshin Impact art style, not how they design characters, but how they actually draw these characters, what kind of lines they use, what the hair, eyes and clothes shading is like, and so on. If you're interested in finding out more about this, you can look forward to my future videos. Thank you for watching. Feel free to let me know any feedback in the comments. Have a nice day and bye.